Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to see you here. These are some printables that I created some time ago that I am sharing with my channel members because there ought to be a perk of channel membership, right? And so you can download and print these files and use them in any way that you like, other than sharing them. So off we go. All right, hello, hello. So here are the files that you can print. They are in a PDF format, and I've got several different files. I think there's 4 or 5. I forgot. I'll tell you at the end. I think there's 6. I don't know, 4, 5, or 6. Anyway, if you print these out, and here I've got a guide of what these things say here, because I can't read whatever language this is, but that one says peace, and that one says hope, and that one says, what does it say? Peace, hope, and peace, okay. And then that one says, dream. And that one says, what does it say? Not dream, no. Oh boy, happy. And that one says dream, no. Beauty lies in imperfection. Anyway, just so you know that they don't say anything weird. And then this is just a bamboo background. And then this is my, rendition of a Chinese restaurant. And ignore those black blobs. There's something going on with my printer. So nothing I can do about that until I fix my printer. But there's plenty of usable space on there still. So those were all printed out. And then I trimmed them down to card front size, or pretty close. Because I'm going to foil them. So I've printed them on my laser printer, and I'm going to toner foil these. So we've got the lotus, we've got the koi fish, and the other backgrounds as well. So I'm going to grab some foil, and I've got my fuse machine heating up, and I do skip around and do a little speeding up here because this was like an hour long, because I did 4 cards plus foiled them and did everything else. So let's get a clean, clean sheet, cleanest I can get. I'm going to pop one of my little koi in here. And you could resize these if you want in your printer software. Now I'm going to dust him down with just a Swiffer cloth. And then I'm going to take a piece of orange colored foil, and trim it off. Make sure it's going to fit there, and then trim off any excess. I don't need a bunch of excess hanging out. And then I'll go ahead and wipe down this foil as well. And then I'll go ahead and place it on there and run it through my fuse. And just want to make sure that there's no black parts sticking out anywhere. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to mask and make other colors. But there we go. We're hot and ready to go. So now I'm speeding up because honestly, this is a repetitive process. So I'm just going to feed these things through and kind of show them to you quickly. And then I have this other color foil that I'm going to do this sort of restaurant looking background. At least it reminds me of a restaurant. But in the card I make, I'm going to actually use the negative foil. So there's the koi all foiled. And then I'll foil this bamboo. That would be so cute with like a little panda in front of it and maybe some greenery, bamboo greenery. Let's make sure that's covered. And there's the restaurant. And definitely I'm going to use that background piece. And then I've got my little words background or panel here. And I'm running that through with some sort of tie-dye foil. And then I've got my lotus blossoms, and this is another kind of a tie-dye foil, only a different shades of tie-dye, kind of pinks and oranges. And then I'm going to go ahead and foil the negatives of a couple of these because they're pretty, and I'm using the Crafty Critta white toner sheets. And just make sure I'm dusting everything down and making sure everything's all covered up. There's that one. See, I like them both ways. This is going to look really pretty with the gold toner sheets from Crafty Critta. Man, don't you wish foiling was that fast? Okay. I don't know where that upside down just came in from there, but sorry about that. I thought, since, I did start a channel membership, I should probably actually offer something other than early access to videos. So every couple of months or so, I will offer my own artwork that you can print and foil or print and color if you want to. You could print and color those koi. You don't have to foil them. We'll let that one cool off here for a minute. There's our koi with the orange. There's our bamboo. There's our lotus flowers. There's our Zen words, I call them. See, I scratched up my foil there. And there's our lotus, and then there's our other dining room background. And let's give that a quick rip. And there, isn't that pretty with that gold? Yep, I'm going to make a card with that one for sure. All right, so that's what we're going to do next, is we're going to make some cards, because I don't just foil and then walk off. We're going to actually complete projects here. We'll start with this one, and I'm going to trim it down, and the size is just a little bit smaller than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and that's okay with me, because I can trim my card base down. And that's exactly what I do on these, because I originally had designed them for Crafty Critta, but they didn't use the designs, and so they still belong to me. But I designed them for European size cardstock, and I had to kind of resize them so that we could print them out on 8 1/2 by 11. And just worked out that these weren't quite as long. So I'm going to find my corner rounder here, and I'm going to round the corners to match the rounded corners of that background here. This is me searching for my corner rounder, picking up everything but my corner rounder. Well, while we wait for me to hunt, I do want to thank you for, subscribing to my channel. I'm 150 away from the 3,000 mark, where I'm going to give away the purple fuse with all the goodies that came with it. So hopefully we'll get there soon, and maybe some lucky winner will walk away with that fuse. So I just find that this looks a lot better with the corners trimmed to match, and I used the 4mm, so that's kind of a 4mm corner. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some color to the background with some ink blending. I'm going to use light colors. So I'm going to use Ocean Mist, I think that is, and Apple Mint. And you could use any kind of inks you wanted, if you even wanted to add extra color. It's completely up to you. I'm just making sure there's any dark green that's not on my brush, off of my brush. Yeah, that didn't make any sense at all, but yeah. So I'm just filling in randomly here, just the same way as the foil that's on there is kind of a tie-dye look. That's kind of the random look I'm going for. And then I'll go in with the Ocean Mist, and I want to make sure there's no dark ink on my blue brush. And you'll see the first thing I do, well, pretty soon you're going to see where I accidentally get too heavy-handed, and but I fix it. So just know that I'm working on hammer mill 65-pound paper. So it's a very smooth paper. See, I got it a little bit dark up there at the top, but I'm not real happy with. But I'll just make it dark in some other spots too, and that'll take care of that. Let's get a little bit more of that green in there. Yep, that's where I went, whoops. I didn't tap off my brush very well. Okay. Luckily, this is a tie-dye look, so it doesn't matter. I think that for my next group, and this is going to be a bigger group of downloads for members. I'm thinking about dragons for the Lunar New Year, which is in February. I'm thinking I'll do some dragons that you can foil or print and color, whatever you want to do with them. And in your printer software, you can actually resize these and print out, you know, that you could print that to ATC size, and it'd be a beautiful front for a quick ATC. But meanwhile, it's just a card front. So we'll go ahead and mount that to a card base, and you can see my card base is way crooked, and you already know that way crooked drives me crazy. So I'm going to trim it down, and I'm going to trim it so that it fits my my little card front perfectly. And I like to flip these around so that the folded side is down, and then trim it, because that way the trimmer doesn't move it. And then let's see how much I need to trim off of the bottom. And you don't have to trim off the bottom. You could put a whole nother sentiment down there if you wanted to. But I'm just going to kind of eyeball measure this and see how I feel about it. Make sure the back side isn't crooked. Yeah, there we go. Now I've got some fairly even space all the way around it, and it's still going to fit in an A2 envelope. And nobody would even notice unless they stood it side by side with, you know, another card. And I'm going to pop this one up. And when I'm using a lightweight paper like this, I like to use my fun foam, because it's going to support the whole thing. Because this, like I said, this paper is really lightweight. It's only 65 pounds. So if I were to put foam squares in there, it would collapse, you know, perhaps if I sent it in the mail, it would collapse around those foam squares. So I just use a whole thing of fun foam, and just make sure that I've got the back covered where there's only just a little tiny bit poking out, or a little bit poking under. I guess under would be the better word. And then I like this stuff because it's got one side of it is all sticky, so I don't have to worry about any glue on this lightweight paper, because it's been my experience with the lightweight papers, when you use wet glue, it leaves a mark underneath the paper. So now I can just glue to my heart's content and glue that bad boy down. And that's really a super easy card to do once you've foiled it. You don't even have to do, you could foil on black cardstock with gold foil. The sky's the limit as far as toner foiling with this, and the background piece that you know, subsequently peel off of there. So go ahead and stick that down, and then I'll put something heavy on here. And then I'm going to do these backgrounds as well, but you'll see in this one spot I've got my dual koi there, and I was gonna watercolor them just a little bit of gray, but the hammer mill paper did not want to cooperate with that plan at all, so I just abandoned that project there. And this one's done, and it's all nice and glued down, ready to go. You could put a whole nother sentiment on top, or put some words inside. And see, my paint just, I tried to do it with my zig markers, but it just would not spread. So we'll just do this guy instead. Let's see. I think I'll set that one aside for another time. I want to do this one. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that one down. And we're going to trim it. I'm going to initially trim it to 4 by 5 1/4. But I do end up trimming it down a little bit more, I think. I think I do, yeah. Just because I feel a little out of balance there. That's the only thing with those kinds of designs. And I'm going to use this strip too. And that's just the stuff I just trimmed off, because I just think this foil is so pretty. Now, the foil, I'm not sure I can tell you about. You're looking at it, but I'm not sure if it's been released or not. I've had it for some time, but yeah, I apologize if I'm not supposed to show it, but there it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these lanterns that I bought last year, Catherine Pooler, because I'm about now using the supplies you have best as you can. So I'm going to do all 3 lanterns, and I'm going to do them all in kind of earth tones. I'm going to do a red, a gold, and kind of a green. And what I'll do is I'll stamp them down, and I'm going to stamp them on some accent opaque 110 pound. And I've got my white or my clear embossing powder here off to the side. I'll just put this in my mini MISTI after I struggle with the magnet. And then I'll lay out my little lanterns. And I want to space them far enough apart so that I can ink them with different colors ink without worrying about getting, moving them or doing anything else. And I'm going to do about 3 coats because I want it to stay nice and wet so that I can pour embossing powder over the VersaFine Clair. So here you see me getting it all nice and wet. And while I'm stamping these for members, there will be download in the members only section where you can download these PDF files and have fun with them. I like the way that one lantern stamps sort of ombre, even though I didn't mean for it to. There's a little spot on that lantern. These stamps have sat since last year when I bought them, used them once and never used them again. And yeah, I'm really ashamed of that. So this coming year is going to be me all about using what I have. Of course, I'll buy consumables like glue and paper and things like that, but I don't need any new stamps. I don't need any new dies. I do not need any new anything. Anything new you see me working with next year is only going to be because it's part of a design team that I'm starting with. Well, I've started already, but you're not going to know about it until January. So, and then I will be receiving products from companies. So there's that. So what I did on these is I took this gold delicata and I took this little tamper tool that I got from Simon Says Stamp, and just put gold in the white areas instead of it being white. I just didn't want it to be stark white. I didn't want it to stick out that much. So I wanted to at least film myself doing one of them. Okay, so now it's time to put this all together, and of course it's impossible for me to pick things up. I'm gonna think that I'll put it down. Let's kind of decide where I want things here initially. Do a little composing. I do end up changing it up a little. But I don't know why, but I just feel like I want that one solid strip there, almost like it would be a table or something in the restaurant. Too bad we don't have any food to go with it. And then I'm going to do the wishing you good luck stamp. See if I can move these things aside here. Yep, this is where I decide to trim this paper down some. It's just, I feel like, let's get that stamp out of the way or it'll get lost underneath my trimmer. So I'm going to trim it down to 5 by 3 3/4. And I feel like it's way more in balance that way, even though they're still not, even with each other on either side. I'm okay with that. All right, so let's stamp this one down. And I'm not going to do it in black, and I'm not going to, well, maybe I'm going to heat emboss it. I don't remember. Let's grab another piece of this accent opaque because I want this to be good and sturdy. And unlike my husband Mike, I smack it right in the middle of the paper without conserving paper, but I will save the scrap. So I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair and Acorn so I can stay kind of within that sort of earth tone range. And I'm going to free range stamp this down. And yeah, I do end up heat embossing it. Okay, so we've got that. Let's grab the clear embossing powder. Okay, there we go. And then I'll just heat that up melt the embossing powder, always fun, and fussy cut it out. Quiet moment here. Just imagine you're hearing my embossing, but you're not. Yeah, I don't do direct. I like to do voiceovers because sometimes when I'm doing direct, I am really quiet while I'm busy. And, you know, dead air is never a great thing. Let's see, do I want to do this on craft? No, I think I'm going to choose this deep, deep purple, which somehow complements that foil. Even though I don't really see any purple in that foil, it still complements it, so I'm good with that. And then I'm just going to tape this down with tape runner. And generally, I don't trust tape runner, but I'm going to have to at this point because I don't want to use a liquid adhesive on this thin paper. So, on a wing and a prayer, this sticks and stays stuck. And the tape runner I used was from scrapbook.com. There we go. So shiny. Sorry about that glare. My light's right overhead. Then I want to place this down. And at first I place it crooked, and so I end up taking it off. Just trying to decide where I want it here, because I'm trying to put it maybe a little bit higher than I had it before. Then I'm going to use these little 2mm black foam squares. I think I'm using black. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what color, but that's what I grabbed, so that's what I'm using. And I'm just going to cover this in the foam squares. And do feel free, and I always say, I watch every video sped up. I've gotten so used to it that when I watch one that isn't sped up, it feels really slow. So, yeah, I watch them sped up. So you're going to see me pull these off, and you may even see me set it down, but I end up pulling it back up because I got it on there crooked. And I'm just not okay with that. Okay, so I took it off. Now I flipped it over so I could see what I was doing there. And then I've got a little excess hanging over because I forgot to trim it off. I forgot I had trimmed down the other paper. But there we go. Now we've got that trimmed off. Now we can place our little lanterns. And I'll go ahead and fussy cut the sentiment out. And I'm just going to cut around the edges. And no, I can't cut this fast. I have it sped up because it's just fussy cutting. I will do the gold, the delicata gold around that as well, because the stark white is just going to be too much for my kind of earth toned card. There we go. Just pounced it on there. All right, so I'm going to pop up the red one, I think. Let's grab these foam squares. Just kind of straighten that out a bit because I did fussy cut it. Sometimes they get a little warpy when you do that. I love these Simon Says Stamp foam squares because they peel, the back peels off so easy. All right, I'm going to place that one there. Then the green one's going to go straight down. There's little, in the stamps, there's little rope looking things that you can hang these with, but I was not about to fussy cut those. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple more foam squares here, and that's a little too big, so I'll just slice one in half here. And just use 2 halves to make sure to support that lantern. Make sure that's good and stuck down. It takes longer for glue to take hold on foil. Remember, this is the reverse foil that I used. Okay, make sure it's the same distance from the side, and then I have to decide where I want to put this sentiment. Down there it kind of gets lost. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it up a little bit higher. Then you could do anything you wanted on the bottom. Put more lanterns or whatever. But that's it for me. That's it for this card. Alright, now we've got to deal with our lotus and our koi, and I'm going to do those together. So let me just kind of pick up here clean up the mess a little bit, or at least scoot everything to the side so you don't have to look at it. And I notice I've got a little piece of extra there, but I'm going to trim these both down to 5 by 3 3/4. I'm going to trim them together because I have a plan. Okay, yep. Let's get it on the right side. Get these nice and even on the side that I'm not cutting. So there's my 3 3/4, and then let's do my 5. And then I'm going to just turn it catty-corner and slice them off. And so what I'll do is I'll do a 1/2 and 1/2 there. So just to add some variety, let me grab a card base here, and I think I'll choose a light pink. And this is some cardstock. I think it's Ballet Slipper from Michaels. So it's a 4-pack with 4 different shades of sort of pink. And I'm going to go ahead and just tape these down. Make sure I get this, you know, nice and even on here. Then the next one will be easy because all I have to do is match up the corners. Okay, and then I've got these strips here, and they're not quite long enough, but I have a plan. And then you see what I did there. I didn't clean up my mat, and I had blue ink on it, and I got some blue on there, but that's gonna have to be okay. I could take the other 2 pieces, but at this point I've been going for a while now and I'm getting tired. So I'm going to trim off a sliver of this. I'm going to try and trim off 2 identical slivers. I don't quite make it, but you won't know. And I'll show you why. They're close, but one's a little wider than the other. And I'm going to glue these down straight across here. And just kind of meet them. And you can see where that other one's smaller, but once I put my focal point on there, you won't even see it. We'll glue that one down. Use my sleeve. Yes, my sweatshirt sleeves become my rag in the winter. I don't care. And mainly I just want to get that even on there. This is the side that counts. Just trim those off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut out my koi fish, but I want to give him a little color first, or her. And I'm just going to grab my pink brush, kind of wipe off what's on there, and just lightly brush the color on there. So it's just a tint. And I'll fussy cut that off camera, and I'm going to place it, not sure, I'm wanting to place it so I cover up that blue mess, but I end up not doing it that way. And I can't remember why, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just taking one of these strips from scrapbook.com, and I peeled it off both sides so that I can kind of curve around all these corners. Because I want to, because this is 65-pound paper, I want to give it lots of support when I'm popping it up. And, you know, unless it's going to go straight down, it's got to have that support. Because I don't know if you've ever received a card in the mail that somebody spent all that time making, and there were dents and stuff in it because the mail carriers just didn't, you know, really handle it properly. How are they supposed to know, right? Oh, please be careful of spot A and spot B. No, let's just, you know, get that mail out to people because they're already complaining that we're taking too long. So you see me just, you know, adding little pieces here and there. And then I'm going to add glue to that, and try not to drop it on the project, because that's what happens sometimes. And see, I want to put it there, and I decide I don't like it there. I like it right here. So that's where it's going, and then I'll just take a rag and clean off any glue that I happen to get on there. Then you can throw sentiment on there. I'm not going to. I think this one will have an inside sentiment. But that card is done. So you've got your lotus and you've got your koi. And then this is the one I didn't show you in the beginning. And I'm going to show you in this how I'm going to mask so that I get two different colors. So I'm just going to cut off one of them. And I'm trying to cut the edges evenly. And I'll go ahead, and I see that one side is still a little bit too wide. But what I want to do, no, I don't want to use that green foil. I think I'm going to go with the sort of tie-dye green foil, and I'm going to go with gold foil. So I want the sun and the thing going around the whole card to be gold, and I want my plants and the little words to be the green colors. So I'm going to get my fuse back out. And yeah, I completely forgot to print this one out is why. I've got a piece of this leftover foil, and what I'm going to do here, and it is fiddly, I'm not going to lie, but because that plastic is so staticky, in hindsight, I wouldn't want to put anything on, any kind of anti-static powder on there, because then, that would be a problem too. So what I'm trying to do here is cut around and just make sure that that piece of plastic is just on the inside of that line. And then I'm going to cut out where the sun is. I'm going to go ahead and trim off this excess over here too. And I'm going to dry fit it here again, just to make sure. And then this is where it's fiddly, is trying to cut that sun piece out, because my scissors don't want to do it properly, and I don't know what I've done with my Spellbinder scissors. I've lost them somewhere. They're over there buried somewhere. So I'm just going to fiddle with it until, I can see all the outer parts. And it's okay if I get a little bit of gold foil on the bottom of the bamboo. It's not the end of the world. But I do want to make sure that I'm able to get my sun. I'm going to try my smaller scissors, because I can see one spot where the sun is still not covered, but these scissors don't want to cut that stuff at all. So let's go back to these. Let's just trim off more on the bottom and then scoot it up. So it's going to be fiddly, but it can be done. All right, so I've got that. Now I'm going to grab my gold foil. I'm going to grab my carrier sheet. I'm going to dust off, let me pull up where you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm going to dust off the sun and the outside edges, and that inside piece isn't going to move on me because it's all statically clung. And then I'm going to cut off my piece of foil. I'm going to dust it off really well. Then I'm going to lay it on top and cover the whole shebang and run it through the fuse. So you can do this in a mini mink, you can do it in a mink, you can do it in a fuse, you can do it in a laminator if you have one. If you do it in a laminator, it has to be done a little bit differently. You're better off to use like parchment paper or something. I wouldn't put one of these carrier sheets through a laminator. So I'm going to cool that off, but I'm in a hurry here. And yes, that foiled perfectly, and it left my green part perfectly green. Perfectly black. And so now I'm going to cut off this sort of green tie-dye looking stuff. And dust everything off again, dust that off, place it on top, and see, it won't foil over the foil. So we'll just run that through. And I'm crossing my fingers that I got this all straight and everything on the first try. Alright, let's get this fuse out of our way here. And it picked up right away, but also it foiled perfectly. So now I've got a green plant and a yellow sun. I've got green words. And here's where I trim it a little bit more, because it's just a little bit too, it's a little bit uneven. There we go. Yeah. And I'll round the corners on that too, because it's got the rounded corners on that gold, and using the 4mm setting. And I always do mine upside down so I can see the corner of my paper inside there, because I can't tell you how many times I've missed because I didn't have that corner in all the way. There we go. Now I will do a little bit of ink blending on here too, but I'm just going to use a dirty brush of blue and just very, very lightly add some blue in the background. You can barely see it at all. And you could go heavier if you wanted to, but I just wanted to keep the application light. See if you can see it here. Not really. There we go. Get a little bit more on there. I don't want to make the mistake of getting heavy-handed again. And then we'll go ahead and grab a card base. I think I'm going to choose a blue one. No, I'm going to choose a green one. Yeah. I'm going to go with green. I will cut that card base down to fit this. So I need to cut about almost a ½ inch off the bottom and about an 1/8 inch off the side. And let me say, don't do this from the top, because you see how that pulled on my paper? That's how we get crooked cuts in the first place. So watch. See, it pulled it? That's why I like to cut from the bottom, but in order to stay in camera, I went ahead and cut from the top. Now I need to trim a little bit more off. And here I'm going straight for the bottom, so I don't have to mess with that pulling. Perfect. Okay, happy with that. And you can save all those little strips for other projects. And I'm going to go ahead and put this straight down onto that green card base as well. So anyway, that's how you mask in toner foiling, or one way to mask. I'm sure there's many other ways. You can just cut the foil to the size you need, but I liked it that way versus cutting the foil. So I'll go ahead and just pop that down. Make sure it's nice and stuck on there. And then I'll choose a sentiment for it. And I'm not sure, you guys know me and how I am with sentiments. I'm not sure what I want to put on here. So I'm going to look through my Tim Holtz little phrases tablet sticker thingy and see if I can find a sticker that makes me happy. And I spot one right away and then I can't find it again, because that's typical of me. So I have to choose a different one. Let's see here. What are we gonna do? There we go. Start doing things you love. And I'm gonna just put that straight down onto the card. And there's a sweet card, a little note card you can send to somebody. Again, it's a little bit smaller than an A2, but it doesn't matter. It'll fit in an A2 envelope. So we've got this card with the dual colors of foil on there. And then we've got our koi card with the lotus background. We've got our Chinese restaurant or Japanese. And then we've got our Zen words cards. So I hope you like this video. I will leave the link down below for members to download these files. And there's our bamboo as well. And you know, you could put like a cute little panda on the bamboo if you wanted to, or whatever. And then there's one other there, but I don't know what I did with it. So anyway, there's the cards that we have for now. I do want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my members for becoming members. And then I hope that you all have a great Christmas and a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.